The journey to a national championship continues through Salem, Virginia. 6th game of the day, 10th game of the week. We began today with 8 teams. We are down to 5. And despite my pleading with the NCAA, said, look, to celebrate an unprecedented 6th game of the day, let's just allow both these teams to move on. They said no. So one team will move on. It'll either be Eastern Connecticut State or the Vikings of Barry, both of whom have already suited up today. Eastern Connecticut State woke up today without a win. They've addressed that. A win earlier today in an elimination game. Barry woke up today 1-0. They're vulnerable to losing twice on the same day. They already played CNU earlier today, but based on what we saw, both teams in high spirits coming into this nightcap.
Well, and I love the mental shift that this Eastern team has already brought. If you are just joining us, Eastern is actually in different uniforms than they were earlier today. I think that's an important shift for them.
That's not
totally
the
new
color
day.
Analysis we were looking for, but we'll take it.
You know what? I'm here, and so is the delirium a little bit. No, but Morgan Bolduc on the mound, coming into this game with a .87 ERA, 12 wins on the season, 3 losses. Been outstanding as a 1-2 punch with Alexis Michon for this Eastern squad. And like you shared, Lincoln, both of these teams so incredibly deserving. Of course, we'd love to see them all walk out with a national championship, but we know that's not the way that it goes.
Our second game of today, Eastern, led by Diana Pepin's pitchers in Michon and Bolduc, defeated Milliken and ended the season for Milliken 8-1. We had already seen WPI eliminated by TLU. Later in the day, we saw Barry square off against CNU. CNU still just 1 loss on the year, came back against Barry for a 6-2 victory. We have since seen Salisbury lose back-to-back games. 2 losses on the same day is what Barry is trying to avoid. This is a loose group of Warriors. You couldn't tell by looking at them whether they're 2-0, 0-1, or in this case 1-1. And if Angela loose, folks who've come back out to see the Vikings play,
you know, these teams both incredibly spirited. That Barry dugout, a lot of fun to watch. Hopefully we get some shots of that. And Eastern, also incredibly fun to watch. These are teams that do a great job of generating momentum for themselves, have a lot of catalytic players on both squads, both offensively and defensively. And this is going to be a great matchup tonight as our final game of the day is almost underway. So close.
I think there's a concern a couple of extra lights are on some adjacent fields. That is what's been expressed.
Okay.
By the way, no rush. I'm told there's no game after this one.
No. We'll be here all night. Looking forward to it.
Sydney, I'm being told we're the problem, so we're going to solve that by removing ourselves from the venue. Or just turn off some lights. That's a first.
That is a first. That's all right.
That's the easiest fix for the ground screw all day.
Well, control the controllables, right?
We'd wave at you. There we are.
You can sort of see us in our matching polos, though you wouldn't be able to see because I'm wearing a sweatshirt.
We are matching.
Temperature controlled in here. We might as well say thanks to all of the crew that have made this weekend possible. Thank you to our NCAA committee, who's been working hard all weekend despite some kerfuffles with weather. Certainly takes a village to put on this tournament. We're certainly grateful, especially for our production. Grateful for having a great experience thus far, getting these games in today. 4 on that first day, or 3.5 on that first day.
Morgan Bolduc has not gotten much work today. She did come in late for that win to close things out as Alexis Michon was closing in on another 100-pitch performance.
Mm-hmm. And we're being told that it might be time to get this matchup started.
Somebody just extended their season by a few more minutes. Again, 8 teams started today. Still in contention. We are down to 5. We will trim it to 4 after this one. As the first pitch for Morgan Bolduc to Katie White in there for a strike. That one shot down the line. That is a base hit for Katie White. A nice start for the Vikings. Looking to bounce back from their first loss. So Katie White is on.
And Katie White wasting no time, taking a hack at that first pitch. A little bit out ahead of it, but still able to keep it in between the lines, at least where it matters. Long single.
Gives way to Riley Jackson for the Vikings. Riley, second team all-conference, the sophomore. Came into the week hitting around 370. And moments ago, Katie White with the single down the third baseline. Your newcomer of the year in their conference, the Southern Athletic Association. In both these teams in action today, only two teams today played once, and that sufficed. Trine and CNU both improved to 2-0. They are kicking it. Tomorrow they will face teams who have to beat them twice. In return, Trine and CNU will only have to beat their opponents once to move on to that best of three-game series when everybody has a clean slate, regardless of whether they suffered a loss along the way. The 2-1 to Jackson. Runner going, chop back to Bolduc. They still almost get the out. They do. It's a double play. Even with Katie White getting a great jump down the line, what a double play turned by this defense of Eastern.
And Katie White gets a great jump, but then she ruins it by not sliding. That is not acceptable here in championship play. If she slides, she's safe.
A fantastic jump. And as you point out, naturally you have to slow down if you're going to come into a bag standing up. So instead of a leadoff single, and now maybe a runner in scoring position, boy, sometimes when you try to get that lead runner, you come away with no outs with two runners on. They took that gamble, it paid off.
We've seen some outstanding fielding from the pitchers throughout the weekend, and that's not always the case. Sometimes a really good pitcher cannot be trusted to field the ball.
Here's Anna Jackson, a 1-1 count to her name. Again, Morgan Bolduc has the initials of her fellow pitcher Alexis Michon, AM on her face. Alexis still has MB on hers. Clearly they did not retouch it up. You can see a little bit of the sun they got earlier today as well. Opposite field, and able to make the readjustment. Alexis Tyrell makes it a little more interesting than perhaps it needed to be. But all's good when you make the catch, and again, she's pointing to some of the lights. Tough to see. But scoreless top half of the first. Eastern collects their bats for the home half when we rejoin you.
No score. Starting left field for the Vikings. Aaliyah Thornton in center. Sydney Maroney in right. At third base is Ryan.
Well, again, the reason for our delay for the start was some concern from the players staring into the lights, and sure enough, Alexis Tyrell, we'll see her point to the lights on the adjacent field as being a concern.
Now pitching. Your attention, please. Now pitching.
And the folks here in Salem are more than happy to deal with it.
Record of 10-2.
As we have 4 fields here, we're playing entirely on field number 1, which has held up remarkably well. Already 5 games today. Tip of the hat if we were wearing hats to the crew here in Salem. But we've got these adjacent fields that lights stay on to help illuminate a pitcher warming up for their, quote, bullpen. But frankly, most of these teams probably aren't going to go to a bullpen or go to a positional player. First time we've seen Eastern since their offensive renaissance earlier today. Barry's going to start with Blair Hall in the circle. We've seen her both as a DP and a pitcher, along with Hannah Gore. It's Cassie Woods leading things off, the All-American grad student. Came into this week batting .486. She's already set the single season hit record. She wiped her former high school coach from that record book for Eastern. Puts down a beautiful bunt, and you just got to swallow that one. Even if somebody's on the bag waiting for the throw, there's no throw to be made.
And Woods, again, one of those catalytic players for this Eastern squad. She lays that down, and from the moment that ball leaves the bat, pretty much have an idea that Barry's not going to have an opportunity to throw her out. And she'll be followed up with the 1-2 punch and Alexis Tyrell.
So much speed on display this week here in Salem on these rosters. Again, here's Tyrell, who made that catch. Was determined to put the bunt down, but that ball came in on her. Simply foul.
And Tyrell hasn't had great luck today. There was a ball in the first game where it looked like she leaned into the pitch a little bit too much, pulled her bat back, and then it hit the front of the plate.
I vaguely remember that. Yeah, the defense was hoping to get a call that ball had hit off of her, and she's frustrated that she can't get a bunt down on her first 2 tries. Cassie Woods will have to retreat back to first. Again, these 2 teams came in today completely different dispositions. Eastern had to win 2 games to get out of today. Barry had a chance to only play 1 game if they could pick up a victory. They were on their way against CNU to handing them their 2nd loss of the year, but the captains we recognized came on strong late. And Trine and CNU are your favorites now this week in Salem. They're 2-0. They will have a built-in advantage tomorrow of only having to need to win once. Runner going, throw down to second. As it goes into center. A stolen base for Cassie Woods. I think we've only seen 2 runners caught stealing this week.
Mm-hmm. And Cassie Woods having a bit of a collision there. Part of the game, unfortunately.
Like she had made an adjustment not to make it worse than it was. Tyrell. Again, could not get the bunt down on a couple tries, so now swinging away with 2 strikes, though the runner was able to advance herself with the stolen base.
And Tyrell doing a better job on that pitch of keeping her bat speed the same. So we saw on one of the changeups she swung at earlier, off speed she swung at earlier, she slowed her bat down in order to barrel it up. Really want to see if you can have the discipline to wait on that.
Big cut from Tyrell. Again, her goal was to give herself up on a bunt to move Woods to second. In that sense, mission accomplished because Woods stole second, but could not then build upon that. So Cassie Woods with the single to lead off this inning in scoring position. Will she have a chance to come home and give Eastern a lead? And Blair Hall in the circle. The National Catcher of the Year in Division III, behind the plate, completing the battery. And Anna Jackson. Right now it's Brooke Matusowski at the plate. Big cut, completely fooled by Hall.
And this is the earliest we've seen Hall really work in that off speed. Seen pitchers hold that pitch back a little bit, a tool they want to bring in at later innings when they need another tool to bring out of their arsenal. Surprise batters with.
2-2 after striking out Tyrell a moment ago. Hall has Matusowski guessing. And Brooke Matusowski, the All-American, batting just under 400 on the year. And launches this one out towards left, and a diving catch by your left fielder for the Vikings, as White comes in to squeeze that one.
And Matusowski getting every bit of that ball. See her take a downward bat angle. Really well hit ball, squares it up, Not much you can get mad at there if you're Matusowski, other than the fact that it just doesn't drop into the hole or in front of the outfielder.
Here's Julia Sangiovanni. 2 outs, teammate still on second. First pitch strike from Hall. And Sangiovanni, one of these seniors. Remember, Eastern suffered its first loss yesterday when that game resumed against Trine. Something happened in that loss that hasn't happened in a while. Eastern lost by more than 1 run. Their last 5 NCAA losses over the past 3 years have all been by 1 run. That was a 4-2 final, albeit in extra innings. So Eastern, all of their losses have to be that much more frustrating. They've been so close. One little thing could be the difference. Well, their bounce back win was far from just by 1 run. They responded today with their season line, beating Milliken 8-1. Here comes the 3-1 offering with 2 outs and a runner on second. That's pulled foul. I wasn't going to tease the folks at home like that.
Yeah, many of us in the press box all let out. Ooh.
Cassie Wood still your runner on second after her single to lead off this inning and swiping second. 2 batters later, she's still there. And that is ball 4.
Batting fifth for Eastern Connecticut State, left fielder number 9, Carly Stoker.
Tomorrow it'll be CNU against TLU. This year's #1 seed against a recent national champion. Trine awaits the winner of this one tomorrow. Again, either Barry or Eastern will have to beat Trine twice. Trine only needs to win 1 of possibly 2 games tomorrow against Barry or Eastern. Whoever survives here. Up the middle. And unable to make the squeeze, and Eastern's going to score. Cassie Woods, who politely had been seated right at second base for most of this inning, finally gets to come home a matter of inches off the diving glove of Shelby Daniel at short. Carly Stoker puts a ball into play, and it pays off for a lead.
Well, just a tough break there for the Barry defense, and a beautiful play by Daniel. What are you going to do? Totally lays out for that ball. And Cassie Woods does a great job of being heads up. You know, it's not necessarily a ball that everyone can get home on, but Cassie Woods with her speed, able to take that extra 60 feet.
Well, they're not in the clear. Julia Sangiovanni able to make her way to third. So runners on the corners with 2 outs. Here's Alyssa Vilches. The 0-1 offering from Hall. Poked down the line, but fell. Again, Eastern led by one of their own alumna, and Diana Pepin. Emily Stanley in her 3rd year at the helm of Barry after 5 years as an assistant.
And Vilches, Stoker, and Michon, all pitchers for Eastern. And all in the lineup every single day. In the field, Stoker is in left. Vilches is playing second.
High fastball shot over to Gamble, who's able to squeeze it in, but not before Cassie Woods comes home on the 2-out RBI single from Carly Stoker. After 1, it's Eastern who leads 1-0. Who is this? It's been a fun day. They've already seen Eastern win once. They're hoping Eastern can get a rematch with Trine, who handed them that first loss in extra innings. Trine would just need to win one more time. It's almost like another built-in 3-game series if Eastern moves on, but you know who's not interested in that storyline? A certain group of Vikings from Barrie. They'd like to have their first matchup with Trine this week. Vikings versus Thunder. Sounds nice to them. Tonight it's Warriors and Vikings.
And no one better than Morgan Fry to put this Vikings offense back in the game. She had a solo shot in their last game. Supported the Viking offense in chipping away in their previous win to stay in the tournament.
Fry shoots that one to the opposite field. Fry's going to shoot this one opposite field and have herself a single to get this second inning started.
And Fry taking that pitch where it's thrown, barrels it up. Again, a lot of ball game. Able to generate a bit of momentum for her team.
Shelby Daniel, again, second team all-conference, comes up. Tying run on base. Her first time to see Morgan Bolduc. Puts down a bunt. Bolduc, the perfect strike to get the out, but a sacrifice bunt executed by Daniel. Moves Morgan Fry into scoring position with one out.
We love an unselfish teammate doing their job. Putting that bunt down beautifully. They call it a sacrifice, but it's not really a sacrifice because that doesn't count against you.
It should feel good doing it.
It does.
Yeah.
I can confirm.
It's a selfish vice.
Do the job.
Yeah.
Do your job. I heard that a lot in college from our coaches. Do your job. That's the job that you've been asked to do on behalf of your team, then know your role and execute.
Here's your starting pitcher. She has two jobs. Right now it's hitting. Blair Hall, your DP. Comes up with one out, one on. Tying run in scoring position. She can help herself out after Eastern was able to plate a run last half inning. Take a one-run lead here into the second. That runner is Morgan Fry on second. The 1-1 from Bolduc. This will get down foul. Again, 6 games today. All but 2 teams played twice today. Those 2 teams not only had to play once, but again are now 2-0. The nature of this bracket and format. Those 2 are in the driver's seat. They do not play each other unless they are playing a 3-game series for the national championship at the end of the week. As Hall ducks out of the way of that one. Second straight inning where Barrie got a leadoff single. Runner caught stealing ultimately got Morgan Bolduc back to facing the minimum until the single this inning from Fry. And again, put the ball in play, good things happen.
Put the ball in play, force the defense to make an out. And not necessarily put the ball in play, put the ball on the ground. Make them field it.
It's going to send Morgan Fry to third. Tying run is 60 feet away. Should run an out pattern. Instead threw an interception. Did you have wristbands?
Yes, I sure did.
Were there enough options to fill the whole thing?
Yes, there were. And it is quite an adjustment when you're going from signs to wristbands. We did that midway through my career.
Fourth batter of this inning, Abby Gamble can tie it up. Number 7 hitter at the plate for the first time against Bolduc. And now both runners in scoring position as they concede second to Blair Hall. Abby Gamble had a tremendous diving catch in the earlier game against CNU, right in front of second base. Ahead in the count here, 1-0. Tying run on third, Barry with a go-ahead run in scoring position now as well with Blair Hall. Only out this inning has been the sacrifice bunt by Shelby Daniel. And just off the mark there for Bolduc. One of 3 conference pitchers of the year still on this roster for Eastern from the past few seasons. And unable to get it right at the knees. First ever trip to the softball championship for the Vikings. After winning their first Super Regional, their second ever Super Regional. 23rd NCAA tournament appearance for Eastern. 5 times they've won the final game of the year. And Diana Pepin, 21 years at the helm, 529 wins now. Picking one up earlier today. She was a starter on the 1990 championship team for the Warriors. Caught looking for out number 2. Abby Gamble down on strikes.
I don't know. I've seen Abby Gamble take a hack at that pitch and be successful throughout this tournament. So not sure why in that moment that's the pitch she's choosing to take. All she has to do is take a downward bat angle, and that's a single up the middle.
Morgan Bolduc can still get out of this inning without any harm done and the lead intact. Here's the 8-hitter Maroney. Single by Fry. She now stands on third after a sac bunt and a single from Hall, who then took second uncontested.
You can see Bolduc asking where that pitch missed because it looked mighty familiar to the one that just resulted in a strikeout.
Just like we saw from Blair Hall in their first game back on Thursday. She will try to give an indication to the batter, generally where the catcher is set up. From her position running the bases over on second base. 2-0, slapped up the middle, off the glove. It'll get through. It's a tied ball game, looking for the lead. Vikings are up 2-1. Morgan Fry followed home by Blair Hall. Sydney Maroney can add some runs batted into her resume. As Bolduc, when she couldn't squeeze that in, deflects it. Her infield doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's probably more of a real-time reaction, bit of a subconscious reaction, rather,
Too
by
athletic
Bolduc.
for your own good.
Mm-hmm. Might be used to getting a glove on it on a different day.
And I did not follow her afterwards, but clearly in discomfort. Now that's her fellow pitcher, Alexis Michon, who's going to take over. We'll see if we can get a look during the break.
Now in the circle for the Warriors.
Morgan Bolduc, we believe, came down funny during the course of this play. First the stab with the left hand, and right there rolled her right ankle. As her start has come to a conclusion, but they have a pretty good option, though it's an option that has thrown 200 pitches over the past 2 games.
We can pretty much expect Bolduc and Michon to split the time in the circle for the majority of this tournament or the rest of this tournament.
Sydney Maroney steals second base. Yeah, Thornton, a ton of speed here in the 9th spot for Barry.
Well, Maroney and Thornton have been part of that 7, 8, 9 portion of the Vikings lineup that have produced a ton offensively all season long, but especially in this tournament. Really relying on those key players for their speed and to get on base.
A wild pitch will give another 60 feet to Maroney and another one of those, and it might be a 3-1 ball game.
Barry offense keen on pushing the envelope. Very characteristic of their brand of softball.
And Alexis Michon, it's just her first year, but she has clearly fit right into that culture for Coach Pepin and Eastern. Ball slapped into the glove with a shortstop Rubik. And that'll end it, but not before. Morgan Fry and Blair Hall come home on the 2-run base hit from Sydney Maroney. And it's a lead for Barry. Yeah. Everybody on this Eastern roster has their way of trying to fire up their teammates. Whether it's Grace Leone committing to her role, or Maggie Baker just prior to her jumping up and down, screaming in front of the dugout. They survived an elimination game earlier today. This is the first time Barry faces elimination, as they're trying to avoid picking up 2 losses on the same day. Bottom third of the order due up for Eastern. Their lead has evaporated, now trailing by 1, as Carolyn Beal, the catcher, gets things started out of the 7th spot. It'll be Beal, Rubik, and Zink. The minimum 3 due up to face Blair Hall. Blair able to score that second run that has given her a lead to work with. And a perfect day for softball, and we have taken advantage of that. Count 3-1. Hate to be a downer, but we're more than halfway through this tournament. We're about to be halfway through the teams. Right now, 5 still playing. That'll change upon the conclusion of this one.
I don't know if I'm Carolyn Beal. I want that pitch back. That was the one, probably the best pitch that you're going to get from Hall in this at-bat, other than the one that she took a hack at earlier in the count.
Just got a piece of that one. Again, Rubik on deck, Zink in the hole. Bottom third of the order coming up for the first time against the Viking pitcher Blair Hall. And a look at Mark Correa, part of this coaching staff that took the team back to the championship in Tyler, Texas in 2019. The 3-2 to Beal. Launched out towards left, but it's not going to carry tonight. White underneath it, 1 away.
One of the keys to this game for both teams is going to be their ability to adjust, not only pitch to pitch within their at-bats, but at-bat to at-bat. So the second time through the lineup, we really should see some better pitch selection, and hopefully we'll see a couple drop.
First plate appearance this ball game for Maggie Rubik, and that ball does at the last second, much to the delight of the Vikings, who were hoping it would, take a turn foul. Rubik, a first year out of East Hampton, Massachusetts. Only freshman starter throughout the year for Eastern. Shortstop's been fantastic defensively. Entered this week, fielding 98%, only 2 errors on the year. Obviously, this week has been a challenge for middle infielders. A little heightened pressure of every given out, what it might mean.
I think we've seen every team thus far in the tournament make some defensive miscues. And those are easy fixes: communication, making sure that you are taking the reps when you get on the field seriously, figuring out what you need.
Caught looking. Second strikeout today for Blair Hall. When I say today, I mean this game.
Like I was sharing earlier, a lot of strikeouts looking all tournament long. And ultimately, those pitches are going to be way too close to take. And before you get to that 7th inning in that final moment, you have all of these at-bats and all of these pitches and these earlier at-bats that make a big difference.
Or Zink successful earlier today, turning the lineup back over to the top of the order. Comes up here with nobody on and 2 outs. Cassie Woods waiting in the wings. The only Warrior who has scored so far today. And Zink likely keeps the bat on her back shoulder here with a 3-0 count. Hall has struck out 2, walked 1, allowed a couple of base hits and a run. That time it's a 4-pitch walk to the number 9 hitter, Zink. And allows Cassie Woods to come back to the plate.
Center fielder, number 18, Cassie Woods.
Eastern has lost their starting pitcher, Morgan Bolduc. Trying to help out Alexis Michon by wiping away the deficit. That one a little too far to track down in foul territory for White, as Zink has to retreat back over to first on the foul ball.
And Cassie Woods coming into this matchup, hitting .477, continuing to inch closer to that 500 mark.
Mentioned All-American, the graduate student. Down by a run. Big cut, runner going, and a stolen base for Laura Zink. A base hit from Woods this time might score another run.
And that'll be 12 stolen bases out of 14 attempts there for Zink.
A little roundabout on the effort. Was anticipating it was a perfect throw, trying to avoid the tag. Woods had a stolen base last inning. Now trying to bring her teammate home.
Again, that moment where some of those pitches are too close to take. Good to see Cassie Woods barreling it up as much as she can, even if it's just out of reach.
Blair Hall, your starting pitcher, getting the nod tonight. Season on the line for both these teams. She gets the ball in the circle for the Barry Vikings. Their first ever appearance in the championship for Division III. And not done any favors there by Woods on a pitch outside. Tying run in scoring position. Got her on the 1-2. Second strikeout of the inning, third of the day for Blair Hall. And through 2 full innings now. The Vikings lead by 1. Again, with their season and championship hopes on the line. On to the 3rd inning. And it's the top of the order for the Barry Vikings, beginning with Katie White. Again, Alexis Michon had to come in last inning for the final out after it looked like Morgan Bolduc rolled her ankle trying to make a great snag on a ball, hit back up the middle. So Katie White, Riley Jackson, Anna Jackson. They were 1 for 3 their last time up against Eastern pitching. And again, Michon over 200 strikeouts on the season, one of a couple of pitchers that already this week has eclipsed the 200K mark. The other one being Strother of TLU. Bulldogs came in today winless. They're now 2-1. They will play CNU tomorrow. They have to do something to CNU in one day that CNU's entire schedule hasn't done to them this year, and that's give them 2 losses. I don't think that bothers Wade Wilson. Off of San Giovanni, and no recovering from there, except the runner rounds the base and gets back in time. It's those little moments. Katie White had caught a break and then almost gave it back.
Tough play there for San Giovanni. That's a hard hit ball. Doesn't have much of an option other than to kind of sit on it, play it off of her body. And as a teammate and as a coach, in my head, I see Katie White round first and I gasp.
And looking to steal second. She's in there after reaching on the air a moment ago. No more games today. No need to stay clean. Toss that in the laundry tonight if you're able to find a victory and keep that season alive into tomorrow. Here's Riley Jackson. Teammate in scoring position, the 1-0 offering, and there for a strike to level the count.
That's a really good spot. We've seen Michon hit a couple batters in a row now. If she can keep that ball right there, Barry's going to have a very difficult time putting a good swing on that.
Jackson hit into a double play back in the first inning. That's going to be tougher to do here. After the stolen base from White. White's on the base paths for the second time today after her single back in the first. As Katie White, just a freshman, newcomer of the year in the conference, was first team all-conference as well. And immediate impact, guiding Barry to its first ever NCAA championship. Field of 8, now down to 5 teams still playing. The 2-2 as the count goes full. So base runner reaches on the infield error, steals second. Barry looking for insurance with Riley Jackson at the plate. The payoff pitch from Michon. Could she hold up? She could not. Strike 3. 1 away.
Catcher, number 5.
It's a break finally going Eastern's way.
Gives way to Anna Jackson. 0 for 1 today was the final out of the first inning. Right down the middle.
Yeah, Michon going to spin that screwball really tightly again. Works a great ladder, both horizontally and vertically, for both her curve and her screwball.
Jackson will fight this out of play. Again, we've mentioned Jackson as just a sophomore as your National Catcher of the Year is named by the NFCA, but also Conference Player of the Year over there in the Southern Athletic Association, the SAA. One on, one out. And the runner goes the moment that she senses any weakness. And Beal securing that ball behind the plate. That's 2 bases stolen by Katie White.
And a bummer there for Beal. She does everything she can to keep that ball in front of her. Just a good heads-up play by both sides.
Somewhere Kelly Jordan's tuning in here on NCAA.com, and she's getting those sliding pants back on, says, oh no. we've come a long way. That used to be our entire production setup. Anna Jackson, third batter this inning. Katie White standing on third. Already a lead for Barry. In the top of the third. This one is launched back towards the wall, off of the wall. Katie White will score. They'll throw it to third. It's an RBI double with one out from Anna Jackson. And Barry's lead grows to 2.
First base, number 2, Morgan Fry.
A lot of patience there by Jackson. Waits for Michon to make a mistake. Ball doesn't move quite enough.
Katie White reached on an error and makes them pay. And Morgan Fry is capable of doing a little bit more of the same. 13 home runs now on the year. Number 13 came earlier today against CNU. She already had the single season mark for the Vikings program. Michon talking to her catcher, Carolyn Beal. Bryce singled and scored last inning. Led off the second inning with the single. Comes up following the RBI double a moment ago from Anna Jackson that scored Katie White. Eastern struck first. Barry has answered with 3. First time for Fry to see Michon. And Michon came on for the final out last inning against the 9 spot in the lineup. Now facing the cleanup hitter Fry for the first time. We've mentioned already has 200 pitches on that arm over their 2 games. San Giovanni clean and fires one across the diamond. Looking to atone from that error earlier.
Shortstop, number 9, Shelby Daniel.
It's a pretty cleanly hit ball there by Fry. Rolls over the top a little bit, so maybe not quite as barreled as she would have liked it to be.
So with 2 outs, here's Shelby Daniel, who had the luxury of putting down a sac bunt last inning. Not the case here. That helped produce the tying run eventually. So again, you lose your All-American pitcher, Morgan Bolduck, early. Trying to extend for a line drive. Rolls the ankle, it appeared. Alexis Michon, a perfectly fine solution to come in, but if for some reason the fatigue sets in, you would assume someone like Alyssa Vilches would be your option, whom you would be comfortable going to. You also have Carly Stoker, a former conference pitcher of the year who spent most of her time now as an outfielder this season. The 1-2 to Daniel. Able to lay off of that one. 4th batter of this inning for Barry. They came looking for insurance. They've already found 1 run. It was all smiles before the game for both teams. Enjoying the musical playlist. Michon from the knees over to first. 5 batters come to the plate. Ultimately, 1 crosses home. As Barry grows its lead in the top half of the 3rd inning, 3-1. But your home team in this elimination game, the Warriors of Eastern.
Run on 1 hit, 1 error committed.
Warriors fans making the trek down to Virginia here in the Commonwealth to cheer on Eastern. Hoping they'll witness a 6th national championship. But it's going to be a tough route home. through the elimination bracket.
Leading off the bottom half.
And right now trailing Barry
For Eastern
3-1.
Connecticut University, the right fielder, number 4.
Blair Hall's lead has grown, as Alexis Tyrell will lead things off 0-for-1 today with a strikeout. Tyrell, Matusowski, and San Giovanni a combined 0-for-2 of the walk. Due up.
And Tyrell, part of that 1-2 punch between Alexis Tyrell and Cassie Woods for the Warrior offense. Tyrell has been outstanding tonight offensively already, having to fight some of the elements. Saw a ball get caught in the lights.
And Tyrell, your 3-year starting right fielder, who also happens to be your starting goalkeeper during the soccer season. Shoots one right back to Hall, who looks like she could defend a goal line. Fires it over, 1 away. She's able to do it with just one glove.
First base, number 42, Brooke Matusowski.
Brings up the All-American Matusowski. Lined out to left back in the first inning, 0-for-1 in this ball game. And winner gets Trine tomorrow. They hope twice. Trine unbeaten, CNU unbeaten. CNU will take on TLU. Feel like Pat Sajak and Vanna White have to chime in here.
And Matusowski hitting out of her mind this season. Biggest single number offensively. Her RBI count coming into today's game at 61. Dwarfing the RBI count of every single player we've seen so far this tournament.
Prolific. She'd like to add a little more. Right now, nobody on, 1 out. That one bites her in the batter's box. We've seen Blair Hall in all 3 games. She and Hannah Gore have taken turns picking up wins and picking up saves.
It's nice to see that both of these programs are going to have 2 pitchers they're going to rely on pretty much all tournament long. Gore and Hall for the Vikings and Michon and Bolduc for the Warriors. Also, great to see the camaraderie with the peers in the circle.
That one shot foul by Brooke. And we're guaranteed 2 games tomorrow with 4 teams still vying for a national championship. Whoever survives this game will need to play twice tomorrow and win twice tomorrow. Out towards right, Maroney underneath it, able to squeeze it with both hands. 2 away.
Maroney doing a good job tracking that ball. It's a hard hit.
Third base, number
And when I say hard hit,
Julia
I mean a lot of spin. And keeps her feet moving. We've seen some balls that looked to this analyst like they were a bit more routine.
Anything you said would have been true. We've seen a lot of things that
is
should have been a
true.
lot
You
of
know,
other things.
Could have inserted anything in that
Yes,
statement.
I was with you,
And
partner.
yeah, and Maroney does a good job of making that look easy.
Hall enjoying the moment. 3-1 advantage.
I'd also say, too, another phenomenon we've seen so far in this tournament is not very many hitters counts. So not seeing a whole lot of 3-1, seeing that very rarely on the board. 2-0, a bit more often, but the pitchers have done a really good job of coming at their opposing offenses. And offenses have done a great job of responding by swinging early and often.
Barry's the 5 seed this week. They were greeted by a pretty darn good 4 seed on the first day, and yet they beat TLU 5-1 in their first ever championship contest. That sent the Bulldogs to the elimination bracket. Bulldogs won 2 games today. That's something Eastern is aspiring to. They've already picked up a win in the elimination bracket earlier to knock off Milliken. With 2 outs, the 2-2. Count goes full. And San Giovanni walked and was stranded on third back in the first inning. Eastern has stranded 3. Not this inning. They go 3 up, 3 down. Blair Hall settling in with a 2-run lead. Her Vikings back to the plate looking for a little more insurance.
We head to the 4th here in game number.
Always a fun time of year we look forward to. We understand if it's a little more nerve-wracking for those who are cheering on one of these 2 teams right now. Vikings fans feeling a little better about it. Why? Because they have this woman in the circle, and she also gets to swing a bat. Here is Blair Hall. And she is in that 6th spot in the lineup. Already has a single and run scored in this contest. In fact, she scored the go-ahead run. Vikings have since added insurance. They're looking to score for a 3rd straight inning here. Again, season on the line for both of these teams. Barry swept Bethel in the Super Regional. Eastern swept Randolph-Macon, a team we've seen in recent years. Little East versus the Southern Athletic Association. Both these clubs already have a couple of trophies from their conference this year, as well as their regional titles. Hall got the starting nod tonight. Alexis Michon thrown into action in relief of the All-American Morgan Bolduc and strikes out her counterpart. A backwards K in the books.
You've heard me talk about it in multiple broadcasts now. I'm truly surprised at the amount of strikeouts that we've gotten that are not swinging strikeouts. Letting ball pass by. I think one of the challenges I have is knowing that great hitters do 3 things well. Number 1, they swing. Number 2, they swing at strikes. Number 3, they have great timing. But none of the other 2 matter if you're not taking your hacks. And that includes taking the ones you have control over in your at-bat.
This one skyward into foul territory, squeezed in by Matusowski. Yeah, there's something to be said, particularly this week, about not being conservative, but being the aggressor. Not hoping to walk in those situations.
Well, and there's also that moment, too, that I know will come for each of these players because it came for me, where you think back to some of the times where you had more control than you thought you did. You only get one opportunity, you only get one career, you might as well go for it. And for the times that, you maybe didn't take control when you could have, you really want those at-bats back. You want those swings back. And I don't want any of those players to have that moment, and some of them might.
Abby Gamble at the plate was caught looking at strike 3 back when Morgan Bolduc was still in the circle. She faces Alexis Michon for the first time. This is the 8th batter Michon has faced in relief now. Sydney Maroney on deck. Had a big RBI back in the 2nd inning, but right now, Gamble trying to get on. First ball, she tried to shoot down the 3rd base line. That one she tried to send right over the head of Michon. Three runs on 4 hits tonight for the Barry Vikings. Count progresses to 1-2.
And Abby Gamble, described by her coaches as a leader on this squad. Again, one of those catalytic players. Every team's got one, or every team needs one.
In a foul territory, San Giovanni has it. As Michon faces the minimum. Already some rally caps on, along with whatever the leading superstitions may be in Connecticut. We're not going to ask. We don't want to know.
Actually,
we're enjoying it. We like to, again, contemplate all the possible things. That's Grace Leone, the senior catcher. Carly Stoker leading things off. The RBI single back in the first. Stoker, Vilches, and Beal, a combined 1 for 3, due up against Blair Hall. Blair out of Calhoun, Georgia, the sophomore. Allowed 1 run on 2 hits thus far. That second hit came from this woman, Carly Stoker. It also produced the 1 run. RBI single back in that first inning. Bringing home Cassie Woods. Opposite field foul out of play.
And Stoker, one of 3 pitchers who are also field players in this lineup. Stoker taking up space out there in left for the Warriors. She's been able to produce offensively all year long, as well as in the circle.
Yeah, we mentioned former conference pitcher of the year as recently as last year. These days, mainly an outfielder. She'll send that one through. And you've got your leadoff batter on for the first time since the first inning for Eastern. The only inning they've scored tonight.
Depth of bench, often complemented, or rarely complemented, I would say, by depth of bullpen. The Warriors have both.
See how aggressive they are with Stoker. They trail by 2 midway through this ball game. Here's Vilches. She lined out back in the first. Puts down that bunt, a beauty. Only plays at first. Nobody's covering third. They'll quickly rectify that. As Gamble was able to cover the bag in time. Able to narrowly keep it in her glove, it appeared. To retire Vilches, but Stoker now in scoring position.
And great execution of the fundamentals there. You never know what moment of execution is going to be the moment that's going to spark the momentum, going to create the opportunity. That extra 60 feet, you never want to take that for granted. Stoker now in scoring position.
It's often hard to tell who's trailing in these ball games when you look in the dugouts.
And you got to tip your hat to both teams, right? They're playing their own particular brand of softball right now, staying true to what makes them successful. That's why we've seen so many evenly matched games so far. It's also why it's been such a heartbreaker for those teams that have had to go home today.
Carolyn Beal fights that one foul. She flied out to left back in the second inning to get that inning started. Leadoff single this inning for Carly Stoker. She stands on second after the successful sacrifice bunt from Melissa Vilches. See if Beal can help make this a productive inning. 1-1. On deck, Rubeck and the whole Zink. Combined 0 for 1 with a strikeout and a walk, respectively, against this woman, Blair Hall.
And we're seeing Hall work in a true changeup, not just an off-speed. Keeping some of this Warrior offense off balance.
We showed up today. 6 games on the schedule, making promises of trimming 8 teams down to 4. I don't know if I believed it. Right now we're sitting at 5 teams. And unfortunately, as we've got to know these two programs, one of them will see a tremendous season come to a conclusion as dictated by this bracket here tonight.
We said this at the very beginning of the weekend, Lincoln, how important it was for these teams to honor their contributions.
That gets through. Stoker rounds third. Throw home is offline, and that's going to give an extra 60 feet to the potential tying run. Carolyn Beal comes through with the RBI, and the decision not to cut off that ball again means the tying run in scoring position.
Well, and speaking of contributions, Beal does a great job driving this ball up the middle. Stoker having no problem getting home. And a bit of an off-kilter throw there from Thornton. Haven't really had to test the arms of the outfield for the Vikings so far this game. We did see it in an earlier game. I believe we saw it on the first day of tournament play.
Diana Pepin's going to run for the critical run, Carolyn Beal. And we'll have a new pitcher in the circle. We'll get you all caught up here in our 6th game of the day. 5 teams still in the hunt here in Salem. Hannah Gore comes on, and she inherits a 3-2 lead in the bottom half of the 4th inning. She'll do her best to maintain it. The tying run is in scoring position. There is a pinch runner in place of Beal, the catcher. So everybody making changes at a critical juncture in this ball game. No changes in the coaching staff. Their yellow shorts.
Actually,
they are always coordinated. Every year it's a different theme with those shorts.
Might be a pattern on those shorts too. Don't think we can get a close-up, and I don't recommend one.
Taylor Darby comes to the plate in place of Rubik.
Also pitch running now at second base for ECSU, number 28, Maggie Baker.
And you see the pinch runner there, Maggie Baker. Second time we see her run today, though not in this ball game the first year. One out, tying run on second. That one to the backstop, 0-1. Darby, the first batter Hannah Gore is facing.
A lot of similarities between Hannah Gore and Strother from TLU.
Off the handle, count stays at 0-2. I think anybody will take that comparison. Strother today, 2 victories, almost 2 complete game victories. Combined 17 strikeouts in those 2 games.
Gotta get a lot of ice on that arm. She's gotta be rearing and ready to go for tomorrow.
And just a late jump on that one for Anna Jackson. A single, a sacrifice bunt, and an RBI single right now is how things have played out. That led to the pitching change. And now the pinch hitter and Taylor Darby facing Hannah Gore. As the 8th spot in the lineup, Laura Zink due up next. Baker on second. That ball does not hang up long enough for Riley Jackson over there at third to squeeze it in. The 0-2 pitch, got her. 2 outs here in the 4th. Runner still on second for Hannah Gore.
Hannah Gore coming in, trusting her pitches. Got the start earlier today. Does a great job of starting that rise at the waist, making sure it tails up out of the zone. I would say not a hittable pitch, at least not by very many.
So Baker still the runner on second. After the strikeout, here's Laura Zink. She's walked once today in her only other plate appearance. That was against Blair Hall. Hannah Gore inheriting the slim lead, up 3-2. Barry scored 2 in the second, 1 in the third to take a 3-1 lead after Easton scored first in the opening inning and more recently in the home half of the 4th to pull within 1. That's this inning, by the way. Home half of the 4th. You would think there's a way they could wean us off of softball at the end of the night, but it's cold turkey. After this game, we're just stopping. Somehow we'll fall asleep with all the adrenaline rush. Out towards left, White. There's your 3rd out. So Eastern makes some noise, scores a run. Carly Stoker comes home on the RBI single from Carolyn Beal. But at the moment, Barry in this elimination game still up by 1, grabbing their bats once more.
There were no errors committed. Connecticut State as we head to the 5th inning. Maggie Rubeck, number 16, returns to shortstop for the Warriors, while Carolyn Beal, number 10.
Well, we are continuing to progress through this elimination contest on to the top of the 5th. Again, Michon in the circle. And she faces the speedster, Aaliyah Thornton, basically a leadoff hitter buried in the 9 spot. She'll try to get on in front of Katie White.
And this is a kid that just absolutely buries people with her speed. When she puts the ball in between the lines, you'd be hard-pressed to be able to throw her out.
That's Barry with a U. Lined out to the shortstop back in the 2nd inning. She was the first batter that Alexis Michon faced when Michon came on with little notice for Morgan Bolduc, exiting with injury in that 2nd inning. That was an inning when Barry also was able to score their first 2 of now 3 runs. The 3rd of which has been the most critical, it appears now. That came in the 3rd inning. That's your difference right now, and one of these teams playing tomorrow, and the other one deciding whether they want a aisle or window seat.
Brutal.
It is the nature of this tournament. 8 teams always arrive, all fantastic seasons. All of them have overcome something because they've won their most recent games, and you start to think this must be our year. And unfortunate is this bracket only allows for 1 team to claim that hardware at the end, although hopefully sooner rather than later all the teams can appreciate just how good their year was.
Well, and if there ever was a journey that best exemplifies enjoy the process, because the outcome is fleeting, it's a softball season.
I've seen a lot of process being enjoyed today.
Absolutely. And again, the winner of that national championship, that moment will be something that they remember forever, but it will be fleeting, and they'll remember all the things they did and all the things they had to overcome in their respective season.
Just 2 of the 8 teams this year have previously won. Only one of them really has student athletes who know what it's like. Even they were freshmen. Payoff pitch. As Thornton has walked. And you imagine Barry will do anything they can to reclaim an insurance run here late. Back to the top of the order. Katie White, a single in the first, reached on an error and scored in the third with a stolen base mixed in along the way. A little pitch out. First time we've seen that. We've seen a lot of things.
Well, and again, Thornton's going to beat teams with her speed. Wouldn't be surprised if she tries to take a base or two here.
Right side, chance for two. They'll be content with one, and that was not the way to go. The moment you bobble that ball, there's only one chance, and that was to get the batter. Despite the proximity to the bag over there at second. 2 on, nobody out for Barry.
Well, it's also a bit of situational awareness there. You got to know who is on first. Been playing enough of this ball game to know that Thornton is speedy. So I don't even know if I would have.
It's an error.
I don't know if I would have made that play knowing Thornton is as fast as she is and the jump that she's used to getting. I might just opt for the out. They look like lightning bolts on the shorts. Maybe chili peppers. I'll do some
They were
investigative
pineapples
journalism.
in Tyler, Texas.
That's where investigative journalism comes in.
Riley Jackson hit into a double play back in the first, into foul territory. And you only want to put so much effort into catching that ball. It is caught, but now the runners are moving. Play at the plate, not in time. Down to third, ball is out of the glove. Yeah, that is a decision. You got to let that ball drop. You know you can make a great play in foul territory, but instead, Barry did what they needed to do. As soon as that ball's caught, full speed ahead.
Well, and gosh, an incredible effort there by Tyrell. You don't want to take away that effort from her. However, again, that is a situational awareness moment for an outfielder. That out is not necessarily worth letting those runners come in and score. Just trust your pitcher and trust the rest of your defense to make the play.
Yeah, the moment you have to leave your feet to catch that ball, it's not a decision that ultimately you want to make in terms of securing that grab.
When runners on base, diving for a foul ball, situational. Diving with 2 outs on the board, absolutely. But most of the time, again, that situational awareness, that's playing smart ball. Alexis Tyrell, I think, gets a bit caught up in the moment, wanting to make the big play and doesn't quite think it through, and, you know, it's a tough call.
And now you've got another runner 60 feet away here for Anna Jackson. Leadoff walk to Aaliyah Thornton. She comes home to score on that foul out down the line. Katie White, who reached on the air, is now on third. 1 away. Jackson, the RBI double back in the third.
Oof.
My analyst said oof. That's a big oof.
Indeed,
Well, our apologies for criticizing the catch down the foul line because it's a moot point now. It'll just be a 2-run blast for Anna Jackson. It's a 3-run 5th inning. And the Vikings have reason to believe they'll be playing softball again tomorrow.
Well, and Anna Jackson, one of those home run hitters on this Barry squad. 9 coming into this game, finally in the double digits. And what a better time to get into the double digits and to give her team a bit more insurance. Sure, Hannah Gore is feeling good about those extra 3 runs scored this inning.
And as we noted earlier, if Michon had to go, Alyssa Vilches, your likely candidate, the Canadian in the circle, when you rejoin us here on NCAA.com.
The circle to second base is number 25, Alexis Michon.
Again, Alyssa Vilches, your second baseman by day, relief pitcher by night. Came into this week with 16 appearances, 15 appearances coming into this week, 10 of them in relief. 30 strikeouts through 43 innings of work, a 1.13 ERA. Closing hitters batting .226, one of 3 pitchers we've seen this week now for Eastern. Well, she comes in just trying to find a couple of outs here. Damage has already been done, including a 2-run blast from Anna Jackson. That scored Katie White, who had reached on an error earlier this inning. Barry has made their opposition pay in this elimination game, and Morgan Fry is capable of tacking on another one.
Oof.
A program best 13 home runs, already with 1 earlier today.
I mean, if you're going to come in and shut Fry down with an off speed, that's the way to do it.
She'll fight that one off. She singled and scored this game in the second before grounding out. She's 0 for 1 today against Michon. While that single came off Bolduc, now her 3rd different pitcher that she has faced.
So ideally, if you're on time for changeup, you're going to be on time for outside, anything hard outside.
I want to point out, to make the sub simple, Vilches in from second. Alexis Michon said, yeah, I got you at second base.
Mm-hmm.
In out of Brampton, Ontario, the junior. Facing Morgan Fry. Right side, covering the bag, the former pitcher, now first baseman, and the struggles there. Matusowski just couldn't get it to her.
And one out on the board.
Michon knew what to do, to her credit. She didn't just stand there and watch.
Yeah, Michon got over to first as fast as possible.
It's too hard to get that ball out of the glove.
Mm-hmm.
Not much more Matusowski could have done there.
Well, it didn't seem like Matusowski was actually predicting to have anybody there.
Right side, Matusowski will get the second out and then see if there's an option at second. There was not. So Morgan Fry in scoring position with 2 outs, as Daniel retired unassisted by Brooke Matusowski. Here's your starting pitcher for Barry, Blair Hall. And there's your top half of the 5th inning. 3 runs come home, 2 of which on a blast into the night here in Salem by Anna Jackson. It grows the lead for Barry, 6-2, heading into the home half. We're not going to tell you the score. We'll just let you guess based on that. I'll stick to my guns. Probably not the first Viking softball game they've attended. Hannah Gore still in relief. First full inning of relief here against Eastern. And again, the margin has grown. It's the top of the order. Cassie Woods, Hannah Gore right now would be on track to be your winning pitcher, as Blair Hall did not quite go the requisite 4 innings. I don't think that is on Blair's mind right now. Still gets a swing of bat, probably at least one more time in this ball game.
Well, one of the things I love about this Barry team is, one, they're coming in playing their brand of softball, but this is one of the youngest teams that we have here in the tournament so far. Hannah Gore, a freshman. We have Blair Hall, who's a sophomore.
I mean, it's literally a 12-year-old team. Suited up for the first time in 2010, and here they are.
Still very much in their adolescence as a program. And making quick work, getting themselves into a national championship.
Eight games today has been trimmed down to 5. We're getting closer to cutting this field in half, moving forward. Winner gets Trine. That would be a rematch for Eastern for their only loss so far. It'd be a fresh matchup for Barry. We don't care about how original it is. Fact of the matter is, Trine will have to lose twice tomorrow to deny them in a spot in that final best-of-3 game series. Trine just needs to win once against whomever survives this. Same story for CNU and TLU. As CNU and Trine both 2-0. Long throw, able to make it. And that's one fewer out for Eastern to work with, thanks to the arm of Shelby Daniel.
It's a good play there by Shelby Daniel and a good effort there by Cassie Woods. Got to fire you up as a pitcher and the rest of your offense to see somebody care so much, do what they can to be safe.
I'm okay with the slide from Woods. A long throw like that often would pull a first baseman off the bag and force them to apply a tag, but almost no other situation are you better off sliding into first base. Here's Alexis Tyrell. 0 for 2 today. First time to face Gore. Pushed out towards right. That'll drop down for a base hit. Is this where the comeback begins for Eastern? Season on the line. Got no place to be.
And Tyrell, unfortunate that doesn't have anyone on base and really hasn't had anyone in front of her tonight in order to move, but done a good job of getting on base herself, starting things off for her offense. Multiple at-bats so far today.
Brooke Matusowski 0 for 2. Can she, like Tyrell a moment ago, find that first hit and a chance to run the bases? Big cut from Brooke. It's line out and fly out today. Anywhere from 2 games to 4 games tomorrow. Have you ever called 4 games before in a day?
I sure have not.
Oh. It's a grind, but it's worth it.
So I've heard.
It is rewarding.
Ever called 6 games in a day?
Not sure why that would ever be necessary. A big cut, 2-2. Home half of the 5th inning. Eastern does have the benefit of batting last. The Vikings added 3 to the deficit in the top half of this inning. And Maroney just gave Eastern 1 fewer out to work with, coming in to make the catch.
Third base, number 34, Julia Sangiovanni.
Sangiovanni walked back in the first, was stranded on third. Officially 0 for 1 today. And she faces Hannah Gore. Gore just needs 1 out. No need to put much attention on Tyrell, the runner on first right now. Four-run ball game. It was simply a 3-2 affair before Barry's doubled its scoring output in the top half of this inning. One run came home on a caught foul ball. The other 2 runs were more of a jog. Anna Jackson scoring Katie White. Now loaded up for a big swing. But Gore gets the better of that one. San Giovanni trying to extend this inning. Stoker on deck is 2 for 2. That is foul. Takes a left right in front of the back.
And not necessarily that San Giovanni is going to be the best drop bunter or even a capable drop bunter. But it might be interesting to see if there's any sort of strategy or tactic to take advantage if she'd had less than 2 strikes on the left side of the infield.
Senior soaking in some final words of wisdom from her head coach, Diana Pepin. See what she can do here with a 1-2 pitch coming with 2 outs and 1 on. As an inside pitch, still able to wrap her bat around on it. She was not going to be caught looking at strike 3, though that was not going to be strike 3. So the count remains at 1-2. Hannah Gore inherited just a 1-run lead. That is up to 4. And again, San Giovanni, boy, her teammates are getting the worst of that. Luckily these days they've got the netting in front of the dugout. And she has really been out ahead of a couple of these.
I've seen her stay in the same spot in the box.
This one out of play. With 2 outs and a runner on, again the 1-2. And San Giovanni now taken out on the committee. She's enjoying it. You're a senior. You never know when you get to take those final hacks. She's getting her money's worth right here. Better than a 400 hitter this year. And a good eye. Finally, that second ball added to the count after she had fought off a handful from Gore.
Seeing a great example with San Giovanni of it's a yes until no. So making sure that she's still the aggressor even with 2 strikes.
Alexis Tyrell had the 1-out single. 1 out later, she's still on first. This one launched but foul. Second game of the day for both of these teams. Eastern had a little earlier start. Both of their games have been elimination games. First time Barry has faced elimination this week. Trying to avoid picking up 2 losses in the same day. One of these 2 teams will hope to give Trine 2 losses in the same day tomorrow. TLU will be tasked with the same with CNU. Right now, the Thunder and the Captains, your favorites, by way of being the only 2-0 teams to start this week. One of them could potentially just have to play 3 more games and win 3 more games to be national champion. Hannah Gord just trying to keep her Vikings in the conversation. Her teammates have helped by adding to the lead. A little bit of breathing room. We're at the bottom of the 5th. But San Giovanni enjoying her time as a collegiate athlete, wearing the colors of Eastern. The 2-2. Left side. That'll get through. Third base, not covered. Runners on the corners. Base hit for San Giovanni. Tyrell goes from first to third. And the season is not done yet for Eastern.
And San Giovanni doing a great job showing her veteran prowess. Finally gets a ball that she can drive through the 5-6 hole. Looked like Barry's third baseman was playing just a little bit off the line. Still not able to make a play on that ball. It was well hit. Again, put it on the ground, force the defense to make a play. Now we have a first and third situation. Continuing to put pressure on Hannah Gore and the Barry defense.
All those foul balls from San Giovanni. I wasn't convinced we were going to be able to continue this ball game. First pitch strike to Stoker. Gore determined to get that third out. Knows the worst thing Stoker can do is make this a one-run ball game. Stoker 2 for 2 today. Pair of singles, a run scored, and an RBI.
Yeah, Stoker seeing it well all day long today.
As runners on the corners, but with 2 outs. Again, a big thanks to our entire crew. They've been with us the entire way, all 6 games today, all 10 games so far this week. There is out number 3, Hannah Gore, a huge strikeout to strand 2 runners on the corners for Eastern and maintain a 4-run lead heading into the 6th here in Salem.
Through 5 complete here in Game 10. Our score, the Vikings.
Those people are officially morning people. It is 12:01 Sunday morning here on the East Coast. Both these teams have lived to see one more day in the 2022 season, despite what the bracket dictated. We welcome those of you over in California sitting down for dinner.
Still a late dinner for those Californians there, Lincoln. I would know.
Abby Gamble leading things off. Looking to build on a 6-2 lead. It's the bottom third of the order due up for Barry against Bill Chiz. Last inning, Barry tacked on 3 to its lead. Eastern threatened. Unable to pull any of them back, however. Gamble today 0 for 2 in this ball game. When I say today, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, that's okay.
In these past couple innings are the first time we've seen Vilches throw.
Left side. Rubik. 1 away.
Clearly providing enough contrast thus far between Bolduc and Michon. So far, to keep the Barry offense off balance. Have not been able to make
Talking
adjustments
about
quite
Alexis
yet.
Michon, the second baseman of Eastern.
I sure am. And not uncommon for multiple pitchers in this Eastern lineup to be contributors as field players and in the lineup.
Here's Sydney Maroney. Yeah, if you don't have Alexis Michon in your D3 softball fantasy league, she can plug a lot of positions for you. Maroney with a couple of runs batted in back in the second inning. And there's Michon, snags it over to first in time. Wow. Well, she made a throw from her knees as a pitcher, and that time She might be the best second baseman in all of the nation. It's like, this looks, she's going to change that MB to 2B.
Well, clearly having fun.
Yeah, I was worrying that the weight of this game was really getting to her.
Well, and you love to see Michonne maybe a little bit out of her element.
What are you talking about?
And making sure that her teammate knows, did not mean to fire that down at you.
Are you at least a little disappointed they didn't review it?
I think the reaction from Michonne was enough.
Okay. They didn't want to steal that from her. Here's Aaliyah Thornton facing Vilches. Which player should we brag on now? Then get a highlight play on a moment later. The 1-1 with 2 outs, nobody on. Trying to poke at that one. Down to her final strike. Leah Thornton, last inning, a walk, was the first of 3 to score. Remember, she scored on the foul out down the right field line. Eastern looking for just their second perfect inning in this ball game against Barry. Last one came in the 4th with Michonne in the circle. Got her on the 2-2. 3 up, 3 down, go to the bottom third of the order. And Vilches lost track of how many outs. She's being told, come on home. We're grabbing our bats again. And you're 2 up to lead things off in the 6th inning.
In order in the top of the 6th inning. As a result, now batting for the Warriors in the bottom of the 6th inning, the pitcher, number 3, Alyssa Vilches.
Anna Gore back in the circle, working with a 4-run lead. Eastern is down to its final 6 outs. They don't want to leave it all to the final inning. See what they can do here. Here is your current pitcher, Vilches, with a chance to help out the Warrior cause. Batting in the 6th spot today is a line out and a sacrifice bunt so far, 0-for-1. Gore in relief. 36 pitches so far in an inning and 2/3 of work, after stepping in for Blair Hall, who remains in as your DP. Two and 1 the count. Eastern struck first in this elimination game with a run in the 1st. Barry scored 2 in the 2nd, another in the 3rd. Eastern Connecticut State pulled within 1 in the 4th. Barry found 3 in the top of the 5th, thanks to some aggressive base running and a home run. And that's where we sit right now, 6-2. Each team with 6 hits in this ball game. Eastern has not been helped by their 3 errors.
What we've seen so far today, Lincoln, in the almost 6 games that we've completed together, that the team that makes the least amount of errors is often the one that walks away with the win.
We've seen some ruthless teams when an opponent makes a mistake. You capitalize on that, turn it into a big inning. Payoff pitch coming from Gore to Vilches. And it's a leadoff walk. Eastern still with all 6 outs to work with, including 3 here in the 6th.
The catcher, number 10, Carolyn Beal.
Gives way to Carolyn Beal, who was the last batter that Blair Hall faced after her RBI single back in the 4th inning. Before Hannah Gore took over. So she's the 9th batter in relief now that Gore faces. It's first pitch off the mark. And last time we saw Eastern was in 2019 in Tyler, Texas. That was 2 championships ago. Only TLU back from last year's field of 8. Trine back from 2019. As CNU, TLU, and Trine all still in the hunt. One of these two teams will join them. Count 2-1.
We're seeing Gore rely on that swing and miss pitch a little bit more here. The longer she's gone, doesn't want to give this Warrior offense too good of a look. And the contrast of some of those pitches higher up in the zone sets that one up nicely. And we're seeing Beal get a lot of these inside pitches that a lot of other players are not getting.
Runner on first, Vilches after her leadoff walk. The 2-2, shot in the glove and a double play. Riley Jackson snares it over to Fry with time to spare. And luck just not on the side there of Eastern.
Yeah, tough break there for Eastern after a great at bat by Vilches and an absolute shot by Beal. Just a great heads up play by the Berry defense.
Riley Jackson holding her ground, snares it, fires it over. Base is wiped clean, now 2 outs. Your shortstop, Rubeck. They had Darby pinch hit for her in the 4th and had her re-enter defensively the next half inning. 0 for 1 today with a strikeout looking against Blair Hall. First time to see Hannah Gore. So the 10th different Eastern batter that Gore has seen. That's a foul ball in 2 different ballparks. Well, today will truly go down as 2 days.
Never a dull moment with you, Lincoln.
1-2. That's what the commercial breaks are for. Not championship softball here in Division III. After the double play again, some empty bases, and that'll do it. Gore just faces the minimum thanks to the help of her defense behind her. Eastern's down to 3 outs. The question is, how many runs will they need when the bottom of the 7th comes around? Top of the 7th, Vikings, your visitors tonight, with a chance to add a little more separation. Try to punch their ticket into tomorrow, where they would face the Thunder of Trine. Eastern, some fighting away from tears, but most of it is from laughing so hard. They're going to go out their way. They're hoping that's with a comeback here tonight. Vilches, the 3rd pitcher used today in the circle. As we're back to the top of the order here with Katie White. White, who has scored twice in this ball game. She reached on an error in the 5th. That would come back to cost Eastern. She's actually reached on 2 errors tonight each time she has scored.
This is the moment Eastern needs to really lean on some of the experience they've gained all season long.
A blooper out towards right. It's a single.
I was going to say, play great defense. Hopefully a 3 up, 3 down.
Yeah, nothing they could do about that one.
It's a good little piece of hitting by Katie White.
Katie White has reached base all 4 times now. Again, she's scored twice. She's actually led off every time she's come to the plate. I say that's not true back in the 5th. That was her 3rd time to lead off. She's reached each time. to it. There is somebody who truly believes in an Eastern comeback, because we're smelling burning popcorn right now as folks are getting ready to be here for a while. Either that or it's our equipment. Looking at turn 2. They'll settle for 1. As Katie White retired for out number 1.
Great heads-up play there. Vilches helping herself.
Number 5, Anna Jackson.
Very few times has there been an opportunity to get the lead out, and we've not seen a team on this field take that opportunity. Love to see that heads-up play.
Gives way to Anna Jackson. All she's done is establish this current advantage. Last time she was up, 2-run blast in the 5th inning. Your national catch of the year, just a sophomore, giving her 10th home run, as you noted, on the season. That's second best on her own team. They'll appeal the swing, say she did not go. With 1 out, 1 on. Leadoff single from Katie White. She was then forced out as Jackson reached on the fielder's choice. Now Anna Jackson at the plate, seeing if she can find another one to send into the Salem night. She had an RBI double in the 3rd, a 2-run home run in the 5th. Looking for more here. And that's one you're willing to take. You hope the ball's okay.
First base, number 2.
Well, surprisingly, a ball that has a lot of spin can sometimes leave a lot more of a mark than you think. Not necessarily under the impression that that was a particularly heavy ball thrown by Vilches, but maybe some laces.
Runner on second, Riley Jackson reached on the fielder's choice. Anna Jackson,
Your attention, please.
we're told, is going to live after being hit by a pitch.
For Barry, number 4,
2 on with 1 out.
Hamilton. Pitch running at first for the Vikings.
And actually they are going to run for Jackson over at first. Here's Morgan Fry. And your pinch runner needs to make sure not to steal second while there's a runner there. Very eager to add to a 4-run lead here, not to leave anything to chance in that bottom of the 7th when Eastern could walk it off after trailing much of this ball game. Right side, Alexis Michon, all-world second baseman.
It's a tough play there. We've seen that ball get booted all day. Sean doing a great job keeping her glove on it.
Shortstop, number 9, Shelby Daniel.
When they start the whole cloning thing, there's a leading candidate. Two runners, though, in scoring position. Here for Shelby Daniel. Waits for it. Vilches, a second baseman who's playing pitcher these days, able to cover the ground and get the out. So Barry unable to add to their lead. We go to the bottom of the 7th, perhaps just 3 outs remaining, and you couldn't tell by looking at the face of the Warriors as they've come to play softball. They have at least 3 outs for a comeback.
We had the last of the 7th here in game number 2. Leading off the bottom of the 7th inning, for Eastern Connecticut State.
Hannah Gore
Player number
and the Vikings 3 outs away from playing at least one more day of softball here in Division III. 9, 1, and 2 hitters due up for Eastern Connecticut State as it begins with Laura Zink. 0 for 1 today with a walk back in the second. And she'll shoot this one into the gap. Still 3 outs to work with, looking for a double. She's got it. Wow. Why not? They're going to review whether she touched first, but you get to live this one.
And a beautiful piece of hitting there by Zink. Hitting gap to gap. Great clutch piece of hitting.
Now, in theory, you don't gamble with her at any point. While you want her to score, it is not the critical run. You don't risk an out at any point. A lot more have to follow, but you're in a good spot now at the top of the order. Cassie Woods, All-American. And maybe something in the eye. Probably all those tears from laughter. Wouldn't be surprised if a little bit of face paint throughout the day has worked its way up around the eye. I think that might be actually why we're seeing a few more sets of tears today from otherwise individuals who've been grinning ear to ear. Cassie Woods trying to give her teammates another reason for a big smile here. Singled and scored in the first. 1 for 3 on the day. Zink on second, nobody out. This is the third game this week for Eastern. Only one of their 3 games started and ended on the same day. Or so I recall. A big cut from Woods.
And really, this is where Hannah Gore gets to test her own composure. Right, so this is Barry's game to lose at this point. 3 outs that Eastern has to work with. Truly is going to be whether or not Hannah Gore can keep this offense off balance.
Great bunt. Safe at first. How much did she put into that? Cassie Woods went crashing after going through the bag. You hope she's okay. Laura Zink moves over to third along the way. That's what happens when you give it your all. Hey, pulled up a little funny, 1 step short of the bag, but fought through it. She may not be able to continue, we'll see. Obviously not, since a critical run. You'd think they'd get.
This is as good a time as any to take Cassie Woods out. Get a pinch runner for her.
Well, they just sent the runner back to second. Was she out of the box? Or was there a foul ball that hit her?
Let's take a look at that again.
In the box. Bat hit the ball once. But the runner on third has gone back to second. Woods is going to continue to swing her bat. She declined a pinch hitter, essentially.
Not totally sure what happened there, but Woods is getting another opportunity to maybe hit for multiple bases here.
It's going to be a little harder for her to try to beat out a throw now.
Again, this is where it's going to be important for neither side to press.
The grad student who started her career at Keene State winds up at Eastern. She wants that bat in her hands. This one's playable. And it's played. One away, Riley Jackson able to squeeze it in, and that keeps the runner Zink at second.
Right fielder, number 4, Alexis Turl.
And unfortunately for Cassie Woods, that may be her last at bat. And if you're the Warriors offense, hopefully not.
That brings up Alexis Turl. With Matusowski on deck. Alexis 1 for 3 today. Gets her batted around on this one. White doesn't have to move much. 2 away. And Eastern season is down to 1 out. Barry is 1 out away. From playing a little more softball with Trine Thunder thinking they're a little bit closer to knowing their opponent tomorrow. Diana Pepin has her athletes coming together. You just hope one day they can put aside their differences. I mean, they've just been awesome to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And Diana Pepin boasted about how early on the chemistry wasn't there at the start of the season, but that changed. And here they are back to where they believe they belong.
Well, and hopefully part of that conversation is do the best you got. We got your back. Love you no matter what.
Well, you might as well have an All-American come to the plate, the senior, Brooke Matusowski. 16 home runs, batting just shy of 400 on the year. And I doubt she's squaring around. This one, back towards the wall. And it is just beyond the reach. And one more senior moment, the kind to remember. Brooke Matusowski. And the Warriors still believe.
That's huge. That's a huge shift in momentum there, Matusowski. And, you know, Thornton does a great job of tracking that ball as long as she can, just not able to hold on to it.
Just how close was Thornton in center field to catching this ball?
Looked like she had her glove on it. May have
Yeah.
jumped a
Right.
little bit too early.
Right through the webbing.
Needed to take one more step, potentially climb it, and just trust herself to be able to come down.
A 2-out blast. Diana Pepin explaining how home runs work. It's, again, San Giovanni now, another senior. Veteran-laden squad. 7 home runs coming into this week. Down by 2.
And San Giovanni had an incredible at-bat
She did.
prior to this one. Was able to win the at-bat ultimately with a single.
Yeah, it was back in the 5th inning. Just kept fighting them off. Finally got herself a hit. 2 outs here, the 1-1. Again off the handle, foul.
We've seen these teams play in a variety of conditions today. Nighttime, through lights, bit of overcast, sunshine. I think at one point it was around 80 degrees. Now we're down to 58. Probably some dew on the grass. A lot of adjustments these players have had to make today.
In case it wasn't clear, foul ball. 1-2 count to San Giovanni. Facing Hannah Gore, who was given a little more wiggle room with 3 runs a few innings ago. She's in line for the win. And if that ball's not behind the back of San Giovanni, she's going to whip her bat around on it.
And this is probably the first time we've seen a team currently being out-hit. But the runs don't reflect the hits on the board. Eastern now rivaling Barry's 7 hits with 8.
Yeah, the problem is there's that third column.
Yep.
With the 3 errors, 2 of which have led to runs directly.
And giving up those free passes has been a huge difference maker today. It's actually been the difference in every single game so far. I promise, for those of you who have watched all day with us, maybe there are some of you out there. I know I say it every single game, and it's because it matters in every single contest. Limit the free passes as much as possible, because with the teams like this, you give them an inch, you're going to take a mile.
The 1-2 from Gore. Trying to hold up. It did hit the batter. She did not go around. And the senior is on the base paths. Tying run comes to the plate. Let's see if they have to run for San Giovanni. They will. So Julia San Giovanni hoping that her teammates can give her an opportunity to play tomorrow. Took that one right off the forearm. In her place, it'll be Vilches, who's been our second baseman and currently the pitcher for Eastern.
Your attention, please. Pinch running now at first for Eastern Connecticut State. Number 6, Sophia Vilches. Sophia Vilches at first.
So still an out to work with. Now the batter, Carly Stoker.
Stoker coming out aggressive on that first pitch. See her foul it straight back. That tells me as a pitcher that she's right on it. Some good timing there.
2 for 3 with an RBI single and a run scored today.
May need to be disciplined here just in case we see something off speed.
Tying run at the plate. Already 2 runs here in the home half of the 7th for Eastern. They went 8 innings with Trine. They would love a rematch with the Thunder, but the Vikings stand in the way. On the 0-2, able to hold up. That's your ball game. Ten games complete this week. We're not going to keep using words like today, yesterday, tomorrow. What we know is there are 4 teams remaining. Tomorrow, did it. Barry will have to beat Trine twice to move on to the best of 3 championship series. If they do, they'll have a clean slate. Same thing for TLU, needing to beat CNU twice. If the Thunder win just 1 game tomorrow, if the Captains win just 1 game tomorrow, they will move on. But there is still a chance for these Vikings, the Bulldogs, the Thunder, the Captains. We've trimmed the field down to 4 as the championship pursuit continues here in Salem on NCAA.com.